When did defense become optional for championship teams? Or are the Dodgers about to remind everyone that runs prevented matter just as much as runs scored? Here's a question that might surprise you. What's the biggest threat to the Dodgers' three-peat chances? Is it their pitching? No, they've got that covered with Ohtani, Yamamoto, and company. Is it their offense? Absolutely not with that murderer's row lineup. The real vulnerability, the one that keeps Andrew Friedman up at night, is something most fans aren't even talking about: center field defense. And according to exclusive reporting from December 2025, the Dodgers have identified their solution, and it's not a flashy superstar. It's Jake Meyers, the elite defensive outfielder from the Houston Astros, who just had the best offensive season of his career. Welcome back, Dodger Nation. Today we're diving into an under-the-radar move that could be just as important as any of the blockbuster deals we've been discussing. MLB.com's Brian McTaggart is reporting that the Dodgers are among several teams interested in acquiring Jake Meyers, and the reason is crystal clear. Tommy Edman's persistent injury issues are going to severely limit his ability to play center field in 2026. Without Edman at full strength, the Dodgers need a defensive specialist who can patrol the vast expanse of Dodger Stadium's outfield, and Meyers is statistically one of the best in the business at doing exactly that. Let's start by addressing why this move is necessary. Tommy Edman was a World Series MVP, an absolute hero who came through in the biggest moments. But the reality is that he's dealing with injury problems that aren't going away quickly. His ability to play center field consistently in 2026 is questionable at best. The Dodgers can't go into a championship defense season hoping Edman gets healthy. They need insurance, they need depth, and ideally, they need someone who can actually be an upgrade defensively even if Edman does return to form. This is where Jake Meyers enters the picture, and if you're not familiar with him, you need to understand what kind of player we're talking about. Meyers has always been known primarily as a glove-first center fielder, the kind of guy who makes highlight reel catches and covers ground like few others in baseball. But in 2025, something changed. Despite missing 2 months with a calf strain, Meyers posted a slash line of 292, 354, 373 with a WRC plus of 107. That means he was 7% better than league average at the plate, which is a massive jump from his career average of 86 WRC plus. Now, let's be clear about what this means. Meyers isn't suddenly going to be an all-star offensive player. He's not going to hit 30 home runs or drive in 100 runs, but he's evolved from being a complete liability at the plate to being a respectable league average hitter who can contribute offensively while providing elite defense. That's exactly the kind of profile that fits perfectly on a team loaded with offensive firepower, like the Dodgers. But the real story with Meyers is his defense, and this is where the numbers get absolutely ridiculous. Over his career, Meyers has accumulated 23 defensive runs saved and an incredible 41 outs above average. Those aren't just good numbers. Those are elite numbers that put him in the conversation with the best defensive center fielders in baseball. He covers ground like a gazelle, takes excellent routes to the ball, and has the kind of instincts that can't be taught. Think about what that means for the Dodgers. Dodger Stadium has one of the most spacious outfields in baseball. The gaps are enormous, and balls that would be routine outs in other parks can turn to doubles or triples at Chavez Ravine. Having an elite defensive center fielder who can cover that ground and turn those potential extra base hits into outs is incredibly valuable. It's the kind of value that doesn't always show up in highlight reels, but absolutely shows up in the win column over a 162-game season. The reporting indicates that the Astros are willing to listen to offers from Meyers, but they're not giving him away. Houston isn't rebuilding, they're retooling. They want young, controllable starting pitching in return, which makes perfect sense given their rotation needs. And this is where the trade proposal gets interesting. The Dodgers could offer a package centered around Emmett Sheehan. Sheehan is a talented right-handed pitcher who's shown he can pitch at the major league level. But here's the reality of his situation with the Dodgers. He's blocked, with a rotation featuring Shohei Ohtani, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Tyler Glasnow, Blake Snell, and potentially others. Where does Sheehan fit? He's organizational depth, a valuable piece to have, but not someone who's going to crack the playoff rotation. For the Dodgers, he's expendable in a way that makes trading him for a positional need make perfect sense. For Houston, Sheehan represents exactly what they're looking for. He's young, he's controllable for multiple years, and he has the stuff to be a middle-of-the-rotation starter. If the Astros can develop him and plug him into their rotation, they're getting real value for an outfielder who, while excellent defensively, isn't a cornerstone piece for their franchise. According to the Dodgers' way analysis, a package centered on Sheehan could be enough to start serious conversations between the two teams. This is the kind of trade that Andrew Friedman loves. Trading from an area of organizational strength to address an area of need. The Dodgers have pitching depth to spare. They need defensive help in center field. Houston needs pitching and has outfield depth. It's a classic hockey trade where both teams get better by addressing their specific weaknesses. Let's talk about how Meyers would fit into the Dodgers' defensive alignment. With Meyers in center field, you could have Mookie Betts in right field where he's comfortable and excellent defensively. In left field, you could have whoever wins that job, whether the platoon situation or someone like Teoscar Hernandez if he stays. But the key is at center field. The most important defensive position in the outfield will be locked down with an elite defender. The impact of that defensive upgrade can't be overstated. Every ball that Meyers tracks down that would have been hit with a lesser defender is a run prevented. Every double that becomes a single because of his range is a potential rally killed. Over the course of the season, those plays add up to multiple wins. And in a tight division race or a close playoff series, those wins could be the difference between advancing and going home. There's also the psychological element of having elite defense behind your pitchers. When pitchers know they have a center fielder who can cover ground and make plays, they pitch with more confidence. They're willing to challenge hitters, knowing that even if contact is made, there's a good chance their defense will bail them out. That confidence can lead to better performance, fewer walks, and more aggressive pitching. The offensive improvement Meyers showed in 2025 is also significant, even if it's not the primary reason for acquiring him. A WRC plus of 107 means he's not a black hole in the lineup anymore. He can handle the bottom third of the order, put the ball in play, and occasionally drive in a run. For a team with as much offensive firepower as the Dodgers, that's more than enough. They don't need Meyers to be a star offensively. They just need him to not be an automatic out. And he's proven he's past that point in his development. The injury history is something to monitor. Meyers missed 2 months in 2025 with a calf strain, and injuries are always a concern when evaluating any player. But the Dodgers have one of the best medical and training staffs in baseball. If they believe Meyers is healthy and can stay on the field, that's a risk worth taking given the defensive value he provides. Let's address the elephant in the room. Is Jake Meyers really the answer, or should the Dodgers be pursuing bigger names? There are other center fielders potentially available on the trade market or in free agency. But here's the thing. Meyers offers elite defense at a reasonable acquisition cost. He's not going to require giving up multiple top prospects. He's not going to command a massive contract. He's a value play that addresses a specific need without mortgaging the future or breaking the bank. This is classic Andrew Friedman roster construction. Make the big splashes when necessary, like with Ohtani and Yamamoto, but also identify the smaller, under-the-radar moves that fill gaps and make the roster more complete. Meyers is exactly that kind of move. He's not going to sell jerseys or make headlines, but he's going to make the team better in a tangible, measurable way. The timing of this potential trade is also interesting. With the winter meetings happening and teams making moves, the market for players like Meyers is heating up. If the Dodgers wait too long, another team could swoop in and grab him. The reporting indicates that multiple teams are interested, which means there's competition for his services. Friedman will need to act decisively if he wants to get this deal done. There's also the question of what happens if Tommy Edman does get healthy. Would the Dodgers have too many outfielders? Not really. Meyers can play all three outfield positions, giving the team incredible flexibility. He could spell bets in right field on days when Mookie needs rest. He could slide to left field if needed. Having that kind of defensive versatility is valuable, especially over a long season where injuries and fatigue are inevitable. The cost of the trade is also manageable. Giving up Emmett Sheehan hurts the pitching depth, but it's not a devastating loss given the Dodgers' rotation situation. They'd still have plenty of starting pitching options, and they could always add another arm later if needed. The key is that they're not giving up a premium position player prospect or a top-tier pitching prospect. They're trading from depth to address a need, which is exactly what smart teams do. Let's consider the alternative scenarios. If the Dodgers don't acquire Meyers or someone like him, what's the plan for center field? Do they hope Edman gets healthy and can play there full-time? Do they try a platoon with lesser defenders? Do they move Betts to center, which he can do, but isn't his natural position? None of those options are as clean or as effective as simply acquiring an elite defensive center fielder who can play every day. The Houston Astros' perspective on this trade is also worth considering. They're coming off a disappointing season by their standards and need to retool to get back to championship contention. Trading an outfielder for starting pitching makes sense for them, especially if they believe they have other outfield options internally. Getting a young, controllable arm like Sheehan could be exactly what their rotation needs. There's also the rivalry element to consider. The Astros and Dodgers have history, including memorable playoff matchups. Making a trade between these two teams requires trust and a belief that both sides are getting fair value. The fact that these discussions are even happening suggests that both organizations see a potential fit that works for everyone involved. The defensive metrics on Meyers are so strong that it's worth emphasizing them again. 41 outs above average over his career is an elite number. That's 41 balls that he's caught that an average center fielder wouldn't have caught.